Welcome to the Freeficient Entrepreneur Show, the only productivity show about working less and enjoying life more. Get rid of overwhelming to-do lists, kick anxiety to the curb, and do more of what makes you happy. Are you ready to live life on your own terms? This is true freedom. This is efficiency by design. Welcome to Freeficiency with Dr. Anna Cragen.
So, hello everybody. We are back again for another episode of the Freeficient Entrepreneur Show. Let me just go ahead and silence my phone. There we go. Okay. There we go. Still ironing out a little bit of the tech issues, but I think I've got it down now. So, about time, right? Episode number 6. So this episode is going to be a fun one. We're going to be talking about analysis paralysis and ways that you can give it the boot once and for all. Well, I say once and for all because, you're always going to have those moments of analysis paralysis, but I'm going to give you a system for how you can immediately get rid of it when you start to feel it come on. So for any of you who don't yet know me, my name is Anna Cragen. I'm the founder at freeficiency.com, and productivity is my jam. I help online entrepreneurs plan and schedule so that you have more peace of mind about all the things that you have to do in your business and you don't feel overwhelmed by it all. So my goal is not more work, it's less work. Because let's face it, the reason we became entrepreneurs in the first place is so that we can have the flexibility of time to spend it in other ways other than working, with our families, traveling, hobbies, all that good stuff. So, how does analysis paralysis fit into that? Well, have you ever had this kind of situation where you are sitting down to work and you really feel like you want to be productive, like you have the drive to get things done in your business, but then when you pull out your to-do list and you're going through it and it's maybe 5 miles long, it's completely disorganized, you're trying to pick and choose what is the priority to work on right now on the fly, and then before you know it, 15 minutes or maybe half an hour has gone by, and you kind of feel so deflated. You feel like you'll never be productive even if you wanted to, and you just feel like this planning stuff does not work for you, and that maybe you should work only when you are motivated to work and you know exactly what to work on. Well, the thing that I always say is that consistency is so huge in business. Consistent action breeds consistent results. So I'm going to give you a hack, well, not really a hack, but a system that you can use so that you overcome that analysis paralysis when you're staring at your to-do list, right? And so instead of waiting to be motivated and know exactly what to work on, you know already what you're going to work on before you even sit down to work. So, if you are in here in the comments, let me know you're here, say hi, tell me if you've ever struggled with analysis paralysis or if you, how often you struggle with it, and what do you currently do in order to overcome analysis paralysis. So let me know. First of all, just to give you an overview of this episode, we're going to talk about what exactly is analysis paralysis. So I know we kind of already went through the feelings that go along with it, but I want to tell you a little bit more about what the scientific basis behind why we feel so overwhelmed when we look at, a long, massive to-do list is. Then we're going to talk about why exactly that happens. And then I'm going to tell you how to fix it. So stay tuned until the very end of the episode because I'm going to do a bonus session for you, which is on how to get motivated to get your stuff done when you're not feeling it. How to basically get into it so that you can follow your plan. So I see that Heather is here, Jen is here. Hello guys, very nice to have you on live with me on the show. So, first thing, what exactly is analysis paralysis and why does it happen? So I talked a little bit about the feelings that kind of go along with you're staring at your to-do list and maybe you give up, trying to be productive. You say like, oh, well, I'm just not feeling it today. And maybe you get onto Facebook and you're stuck there for a little bit. And then before you know it, it's time to go to bed or it's time to do something else. And you haven't really accomplished anything today. So why does that happen? Well, most of the time, it happens because you are staring at your to-do list and your to-do list isn't organized. You are trying to decide on the fly what is the most important thing for you to do right now, which is so hard because you don't have a big picture plan. You're not looking at what are the goals you want to achieve in your business. You're only looking at what task can I get done within the next 30 minutes to an hour, maybe you have 2 hours, and you're trying to pick which task will give you the biggest bang for the buck. Well, that is super, super hard when you don't have that initial big picture of where you are going in your business. And you haven't thought of these tasks beforehand. So planning beforehand is something that I talk about a lot. And this definitely applies to this situation in regards as to overcoming analysis paralysis. So, but in this episode, I'm actually going to tell you how to fix it, right? We're going to talk about what to do instead of to-do lists so to get all that rolling. So I said, I already kind of gave away the first thing that you should do, but the first thing I highly recommend doing is to get rid of your to-do list. Your to-do lists, as most people make them, which is just a long laundry list of items that have popped into your head to do at some point, but are not organized or prioritized in any kind of way, those lists are not serving your highest good in business. So I say, chuck your to-do list, okay? So the biggest reason that they are ineffective is because when you are down in the minutia of what the little tasks are for you to do in your business, you lose sight of that big picture. A to-do list does not give you the best overview of where you are heading in your business. So I say chuck it. Because basically when you're looking at a to-do list, you're forcing yourself to make a decision, a big picture decision, right? A long-term decision when you're in a very short-term frame of mind. So instead of to-do lists, you need something that combines both, where you can see the big vision, but then you can also see what your focus is at any given point during the day. So for anybody, for the people watching the show right now, go ahead and let me know in the comments, what is your current planning system? How do you currently decide what to do each time that you sit down to work? I'm really curious to know about this. So, and there is a little bit of a delay with the stream, so I'm gonna go ahead to the next section and start talking about it, and then let me know in the comments, and I'll read your comments in the break between sections. So, if you are supposed to get rid of your to-do list, then what should you do instead of a to-do list? Well, I am going to introduce to you the concept of project plans. And this is something that I've alluded to in the past episodes of the show, but this is where I really want to get into the meat of how to conduct a project plan. And Jen says, I use a to-do list. Okay, perfect. So to-do lists come in all different shapes and sizes. So I know, Jen, you're a little bit more on the organized side. So your to-do list may be a bit different than the kinds of to-do lists that people usually make. But then again, it might not be. So go ahead and listen to my project plan method to see if you can combine that already with the to-do list that you are using. Because there definitely is a little bit of overlap within a project plan and a to-do list, in that you do a project plan first and then you can put it on your to-do list. So I'll talk about how to implement it exactly a little bit later in the episode. So keep letting me know your thoughts and your comments in the comment section. I love answering any kinds of questions, so feel free to just pop them in there and I will read them out as they come in. All right, so how is a project plan different than a to-do list? So first of all, a project plan is organized. It is, and actually, first of all, I should say that a project plan is not a catch-all bucket for everything that you have to do in your business. A project plan is for a specific project or, collection of things that you need to do in order to reach a specific goal. So for instance, I can have a project plan for how to, or starting my own Facebook group, or a project plan for how I'm going to get more one-on-one clients, or a project plan for what I'm doing next week actually is redesigning and revamping my website. So that's the kind of higher level category that we're talking about when we're talking about what a project plan is. So that's the first thing. The first thing is that it is for one specific type of task or collection of tasks. It does not include things that you have to do in your personal life. It does not include things that you have to do for your business, like admin work that are not directly related to the project plan. So I'm going to use the example of redesigning the website throughout this episode, just because I have just created that project plan for myself. So that's what I'm thinking about right now. But you can use this for any type of project that you're doing in your business. And it can also work in your personal life as well. So remember, first thing is that it's for one project only. It is not a catch-all bucket. And then second of all is that it's organized. So a to-do list is generally a collection of tasks that is not prioritized. It's not organized by category or anything like that. So a project plan is organized in terms of categories. So for instance, if my project is to redesign a website, categories may be redesigning the homepage, redesigning work with me page, writing specific pages on my site, fixing the branding, finding images and putting images in the site, and so on and so forth, right? Those are the categories. And then under the categories are the subtasks, or the specific tasks that I'm going to have to do in order to complete that category, and in turn by category by category I complete the whole project plan. So for instance, for my project plan of designing or redesigning my website, I have under the category of revamping my homepage, for instance, pulling the logos of the sites where I was featured so that I can feature them on the homepage. Another category that I had was to create a video series. So that is another category that is going to have subtasks in between, such as record videos, edit videos, add music, upload them, all this stuff. So again, to review, a project plan is categorized by or organized by categories and subtasks. And you can even go further with this and organize the subtasks too to see what you should do first, second, third, and so on and so forth. The advantage to this, and I think you are able to see this now, over a to-do list, is that when you sit down to work, you already know exactly what is the first task that you should be working on. The reason being is by constructing that project plan in the first place, you are forcing yourself to think about the minutiae, but in context of the big picture goal, right? And then you have your categories and your tasks that are all numbered. So when you sit down to work, you're like, okay, I'm going to work on this category today, and this is the first task that I need to do. So a key when you're structuring your tasks and creating your project plan is to have those tasks be really, really specific. So something like, let's say, create video series is not specific enough. But let's say record video 1, edit video 1, add music to video 1, upload video 1, so on and so forth. It may seem a little bit repetitive, and it may seem like it would be overwhelming to see so many tasks written down on your sheet, but remember, because they're so specific that you can knock them out really quickly, so you will be able to see yourself crossing things off a to-do list of your project plan, right? Of that list of subtasks, which gives you a sense of momentum that you're making progress, and it motivates you to keep going. So this is the third reason why I love project plans over to-do lists, is that you can see visually the progress that you are making in your business, and you can actually visualize the end result, right? Being done, having my redesigned website, or having, 2 more, 3 more, however more one-on-one clients, right? So those are the reasons why a project plan is so much better than a to-do list. So let me know, do you guys have questions about this? Do you like this system? How do you envision this system working for you in your business? And maybe what have you been stuck on in analysis paralysis, trying to get through but haven't been able to get a breakthrough? Is that a project that you can create a project plan for? Let me know in the comments. I'm super curious to see if you can see the system working for you in your business. Okay, so now that we kind of have talked a little bit about what exactly a project plan is, here's some steps on how to actually do it. Oh, and Jen says, I do something similar. So tell us more a little bit about that, Jen. Tell us more about the system that you are using to create something similar to a project plan. I'm curious now. Okay, so what's the number one thing, remember, that the project plan is different from a to-do list is because it keeps in mind the big picture goal. So that is your number one step of what you need to do first when you are creating your project plan. And that is to pick a goal, right? So we have all these different things that we could be doing in our business, right? I could be, guesting on podcasts. I could be redesigning my website. I could be just reaching out in person on LinkedIn or Facebook. I could be, trying to make the show into a podcast, which actually is coming soon. But there are all these different types of things that when we think about all the things that we have to do, it causes a little bit of an anxiety. And even for me, having been doing this for a number of years now, whenever I feel that anxiety start to creep in, whenever I feel like I'm just thinking about, like, running through my head all the different things I need to do, I know that that is a sure sign of me having to stop and do a brainstorm of all the things that are in my head and things that I have to now get out of my head and onto paper so that I can look at them objectively and categorize them and prioritize them. So that is the number one step, is to do a brain dump of all the things that you want to happen in your business. And then the key is to pick just one. So when you're picking just one goal, that is going to be the focus of your whole planning session. Which doesn't mean that you will ignore those other goals that you want for your business. It's just that for this planning session, for constructing the current project plan, you're going to be focusing on just one goal. And here is a comment from Jen. Jen says, while I have my goal set with all of the tasks that need to be completed, then I have themed days, so I only work on certain things on certain days. Then I have a list of tasks that need to be completed each day. So yeah, Jen, that is a perfect system. You set a goal, so the big picture stuff that we had just talked about, and then you're breaking it down into themed days. So the themed days sounds a lot like different categories of what you're gonna do to accomplish that goal, right? So correct me if I'm wrong. I love that system. I'm a big fan of theming. As anybody who has tuned into the show before knows. So theming and batching are two things that I recommend for everybody. So great job, Jen, on figuring out this system and theming your days. It sounds awesome. Okay, so after you have set your big picture goal, the second step is to brainstorm all the projects that you can do or you can work on in order to reach that goal. So you may think, well, I want to get more one-on-one clients, so I'm going to be a guest on a bunch of podcasts. That's how I'm going to get them. So why do I need to brainstorm all my projects, whereas I know that I want to be working on this, in order to achieve my goal? Why can't I just skip the brainstorming projects part and go straight to creating the plan? So here's the reason for why I recommend to always do a brainstorm before selecting a project. And this goes back again to having the big picture in mind. So when you are constantly thinking about the same thing, then hang on a sec. Okay, there we go. When you're constantly thinking about the same thing in your mind, your brain kind of shuts off its ability to think about other things that may be related to this goal, but it's kind of like your brain has blinders on. So if you have decided that you're gonna get one-on-one clients from guesting on podcasts, your brain is almost unwilling to consider other things that you can do in order to get clients, such as, for instance, direct outreach on LinkedIn, or maybe it is creating a new video series, maybe it's creating a sales funnel for your website. All of these things are valid things that you could be doing in order to get more one-on-one clients, but because you are stuck in thinking that, guesting is the only way, then that you're not considering the other options. So the reason that I do recommend having a brainstorm before you decide on your project is so that you have all the options laid out for you. So I'm going to give you an example from my life where a brainstorm has actually saved me a week's worth of work, and that is this live show actually is an example of that. So at the beginning, when I was considering what kind of content to create for you guys for Freeficiency, I had originally planned to do a podcast show. So this would have been audio only. It would be pre-recorded, and then I would edit it, add intro and outro, and then package it up, all up, do the standard podcast kind of thing. So, it turns out that at the rate that I currently work, and for those of you who have tuned into the show before know that that I work 2 hours a night on my business because I do have a 2-year-old at home. I have other things that I want to do in my life. So I work a maximum of 2 hours a night, work at the computer, right? So at the rate that I work, creating a podcast would have taken me a whole week to do. I would record interviews, or maybe even 2 weeks if I batched all my recording and done it in a week. I would spend a week recording and then a week editing and scheduling and, doing all the stuff to get the podcast published. Well, I did my brainstorm and I wanted to see what other content possibilities are out there to help me get my message out to you guys. And a Facebook Live show came up in my brainstorm. Just because people were talking about it, I knew that it was starting to be a thing. So I wrote it down, and then when I looked at all the options, I saw immediately that the live show was going to save me that week of editing and scheduling and publishing it, simply because it is a live show, right? So once I do the show, 30 minutes to 45 minutes is usually my target for how long the show goes. Once I am done with my show, then there's no editing really that I have to do. I just have to maybe get my sound file and do some other things to kind of like polish it up a bit and, get rid of the space that I'm not talking at the beginning of the show and so on and so forth. But that is nowhere near the amount of work that I would have to do in order to edit a podcast, especially when I bring guests on. So had I not done that brainstorm in the first place, I may not have ever I might still be spending all my time editing this podcast and publishing it and just being really busy. Meanwhile, this great option of a live show would have been available to me had I just brainstormed for it. So that is an example of why I highly, highly recommend that you do this kind of brainstorm when deciding what kind of projects to work on. All right. So then, do you know what the second step is after brainstorming for your project? I think you already have guessed it, and that is to pick one, right? To pick one project for your project plan. Remember, one project plan, one project. That's how it's different from a to-do list. So then, how do you pick the best project to work on for your project plan? Well, this is a series of factors that you have to consider. So the time that it would take to work on the project, the bang for the buck that you can get from the project, how directly this project is going to impact that goal that you set, because really not all projects are equally effective at getting us to our goals, right? So these are all things that you have to consider before you pick your one project. But in the end, you should end up with one project to focus on for your project plan. And then the third step is to brainstorm the categories of tasks that you need to do for your project, and then to fill them up with subtasks. So there are two ways really that you can do this. You can either create the categories first, if you like to think about kind of like this broader going down to narrower, or you can just do it brainstorm freestyle. So just start writing down tasks, whatever pops into your head in order to finish that project, just write it down, and then organize them later into categories and priorities. So both ways are great. You can mix and match them so you don't have to pick one or the other. The goal in this section is to make sure that you have a brainstormed list of tasks, right? So you can kind of see exactly all the things that you're going to need to do in order to accomplish this project, or to get this project done, right? To see your progress. So that's really the goal that we're going for, and you don't have to think about you don't have to stress about how exactly you get to that goal. Just make sure that you have one project with categories, or maybe not. Maybe you're not even going to use categories. I like to use categories just because it helps me plan a little bit better, because I do like to batch. So for Jen, who has theme days, the categories might be great to use. But if you just have, time here and there that you're working on things, then maybe you should just have a straight up list of prioritized tasks. Okay, so now we have a project plan. Basically, so that's it. So you have one goal, one project that you're working towards, and all the tasks in order that, you have to do them first, second, third, as well as prioritize what's important, what's not important. In case you come up with tasks on your brainstorm that later you go and say like, well, this task, like in light of everything else that I have to do for this project, in light of the time that I currently have to spend on this project, this task is not really going to get me that much bang for the buck. So feel free to cross it out or table it, or, flip your paper over and put it on the other side, somewhere where you can kind of keep track of it, but it's not going to be in your main project plan. And the reason that I say this is because this project plan is now going to be your Bible, right, for the next few weeks as you are working on knocking out this project. So you're going to keep this plan somewhere where you can see it, next to your computer or in your planner, or, whatever it is that you look on a daily basis. Don't just create this project plan and stick it in a drawer, right? Like, that's not going to work. And each time before you sit down to work, review your project plan and decide what is the category and the tasks that you're going to work on. So you really only need to decide on what's the first thing that you're going to do. And really, the decision has already been made for you if you created this project plan by the past version of you, right? So this is where you tap yourself you pat yourself on the back and say, good job, past me, and then you get into it and get to work. So that is kind of the bare bones short version of how to create a project plan. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways that you could be planning and structuring all this process, but I wanted to give you this framework so that you have something to work from, because I feel like like we're all told, oh, you need to plan for success and, all these things. And I agree, you do need to, but then where that advice falls short is in not teaching us how to do this. We're just kind of left to our own devices to figure it out. So I wanted to give you this framework for planning that you can use to create your next project plan, which hopefully will help you get unstuck from this analysis paralysis while looking at a to-do list. So let me know in the comments, do you like this system? Can you see it working for you? Let me know your thoughts about this project plan thing that I had just taught you. So remember, at the beginning of the episode, I teased a little section that I was going to do a little bonus for you guys. And now is the time to cash in on that bonus. And that is, I wanted to talk a little bit about how you can get yourself motivated to work. Even if you have a plan, but you're looking at the plan and you're just not feeling whatever it is the first thing that you wrote to do. So maybe for my project plan for redesigning a website, it may be going through the sales page and kind of just like tweaking some of the copy according to feedback that I got and things that I want to tweak. So I'm going to let you know right now that I'm not a copywriter by any means, and it's not one of my strengths. So this is a task that I often feel resistance to. And I bet that there are some tasks for any project that you create a plan for, that you want to do in your business, that you're going to feel a little bit like, I just need an extra push, to do this task. So here is how to give yourself that extra little push. First of all, make sure that the tasks that you list are very, very specific. So if you just did the first thing that you can think of when you look at that task, would that task be finished? If so, it's specific. But if you can think of like, well, first I have to do this, and then this, and then this, then that task is not very specific. So I'd encourage you to break it down into those specific tasks. The reason for that is because if we are looking at a task that is very big. So for instance, for me, with the resistance that I have to tweaking copy on my Work With Me page, for instance, is my Work With Me page is quite long. So I may be thinking like, oh my God, where do I even start? So if you notice yourself thinking, where do I even start working on this task? That is a good nudge from yourself in order to break down that task more into specifics. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to review the big picture plan. So look at your plan not only for the tasks that you have scheduled to do today, but to the end. Try to imagine yourself working through your whole plan and getting to the end and, having this awesome new website, or having, this awesome new podcast, or having an awesome handful of new clients. So think about how that's going to make you feel at the end of accomplishing the plan. And then take the task that you have to do today in context with that plan. So for me, I'm really looking forward to getting a newly redesigned website. So this task of tweaking the copy on my Work With Me page, I have to look at it in the context of the whole plan. So I'm thinking like, well, if I have a beautiful new website, but then the copy on my Work With Me page sucks, then that's going to be all for nothing, because now, people are going to go to my site and be like, oh, it's going to be beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's nice looking, but then they're not actually going to become clients. So the purpose of the site is not working, right? So this is what I mean by viewing the current task that you are feeling a little bit resistance to in the context of the grand scheme of things. Okay. If after all these things you are still not feeling the task that you have to do, my favorite tip for that is to set a kitchen timer, or a timer on your computer or on your phone or whatever. Set a timer for 15 minutes. And for those 15 minutes, really just go for it. Work only on that task that you're feeling resistance to. Set a micro goal, right? Like, let's say instead of going through all the copy on my Work With Me page, I'm just gonna do the first half, or I'm just gonna do the first section, right? I'm just gonna redo the first section. And then work on just that one thing for 15 minutes. I mean, I really think that all of us can do anything for 15 minutes. It's such a short amount of time, but it's not so short that you wouldn't be making progress towards your goal while you are working, right? So 15 minutes is a short time, but it's actually quite a lot of time to get something accomplished, or at least to get the ball rolling. So after I do this exercise, sometimes I feel even more pumped to work on my plan. So I'm like, oh yeah, like I've kind of gotten into it. My brain has kind of gotten into the zone, which is why really you want this monofocus, right? When you are working on this one task. And then you may be excited about keeping going, right? So maybe I finished the first section of my Work With Me page, and then I'm like, oh, like I can do a little bit more. I got this, you know, like this seems easy now. It doesn't seem so overwhelming. So really that is the goal, right? The goal is for you to say like, oh, okay, like I can keep going, right? But the rest of the time, after 15 minutes, I'm like, oh, okay, thank God the timer went off. Now I can switch to doing something that I'm more excited about. So I can go to a different category on my project plan, or I can work on a different project plan that I have, or, you know, just something that I need to get done in my business that otherwise, or that is fun, right? That I'm looking forward to getting done. So that's kind of like, you do the 15 minutes worth of work, and even if you stop after 15 minutes, it is still better to do 15 minutes worth of work than to do nothing to move your project plan forward. So I'm a huge fan of working every day on your business. So because that's what's really going to keep that momentum and that consistency for you to see consistent results down the line. So working for 15 minutes is better than not working at all. And then maybe after you work for 15 minutes, you can say, okay, like I can keep going. And then you do a little bit more. But really what I want you to do is to get yourself at least to that point where you can do at least a few minutes work on your project to move it forward. Okay, so let me know what you guys think about the system. What do you think about the motivation tips? Do you have any other motivation tips that you can add to help others watching and listening get to their work and get pumped enough in order to work on the plan that they created? So let me know in the comments and I'll read them out after this next part. So the next part that I wanted to tell you about is I decided to create a resource for you guys to remember these steps, because I know how it is. You know, you watch the show or you listen to the show as a podcast, and then you're like, oh yeah, I totally want to implement this. Like I want to, you know, get this done, like make it part of my workflow. But then you forget where you heard it, or, you know, whatever. So I created the Get Unstuck checklist. So this is, like I said, a checklist that I created, and I'm just going to pull this link up onto the screen so that you can see the link that it is available at, and it is freeficiency.com/unstuck, and unstuck is one word. So you can go to that site and download this completely free checklist that I created for you. It walks you through step by step on what to do whenever you have that feeling of overwhelm and you can't really decide on what you want to get done or what you should be working on at the moment. It basically walks you through with concrete examples on how to create this project plan so that you can get started, well, getting unstuck. So hence the name of the checklist, the Get Unstuck checklist. It also has a section on motivation at the bottom, so that includes the tips that I told you today on the show in a nice, easy to remember format, because as you know, when you are in that stuck mindset, you don't often remember how to get out of it. So my goal with this checklist is for you to print it and keep it somewhere where, like next to your computer or in your workspace, so that when next time you are stuck, you can easily refer to it and follow the steps to get unstuck. So again, the link to download that is on your screen, and it is freeficiency.com/unstuck. All right, so I'm going to be hanging out in the comments a little bit after the show in case you have things that you want to ask me, in case there are things that you want to chat about. But I'm going to close out yet another wonderful episode of the Freeficient Entrepreneur Show. Again, my name is Anna Cragen, and I want to encourage each and every single one of you listening to keep building your dreams one step at a time. I'll see you next time on the show.
Thank you for tuning in to the Freeficient Entrepreneur Show. You can find more great content like this at freeficiency.com.